given center to -3 and point 46. Okay, so when I ask for us to write an equation of a circle, I know I want it to be in standard form. So this is going to look like, we have to remember what it looks like. It's going to be the quantity of x minus h squared plus the quantity of y minus k squared equals the radius squared. Now what variables do we need values for this equation in standard form to be complete? What variables do I need? Ariana. Perfect. We need a value for h, for k, and for r. Well, who remembers what does hk represent? The center point. And don't I already have my center point, h comma k? So we're going to plug that directly in. So we're going to have x minus 2 quantity squared plus y minus a -3 quantity squared equals r squared. And doesn't this double negative make a positive right here? So this ends up being the quantity of x minus 2 squared plus the quantity of y plus 3 squared equals the radius squared. Is this good enough? No. I still need a number for r, and I know r is the radius, but I didn't tell the radius. We weren't given the radius. The only other thing we were given was the 0.46. Well, if h comma k is the center and r is the radius, what do x and y represent? Violet? Say it one more time. Good. X comma y represents all the points that exist on this graph. Well, I'm giving you one of the points. I'm saying the point 46 exists on this graph. Well, can I plug in 4 for x and 6 for y and then solve for r squared? So that is what we're going to do now. We're going to plug in 4 for x, we're going to plug in 6 for y, and then solve for y squared. So this is going to be 4 minus 2 squared plus 6, the quantity of 6 plus 3 squared equals r squared. So we're going to have 2 squared plus 9 squared equals r squared. So we are 4 plus 81 equals r squared. So that's 85 equals r squared. Do I have to square root? No, because I don't need r. I need r squared. So now we have everything we need to write the complete equation in standard form. So we go back to x minus 2 quantity squared plus the quantity of y plus 3 squared equals r squared, which is 85. And this is the equation of the circle in standard form. Okay, next one. So hyperbola with vertices plus minus 1, 0, and foci plus minus 2, 0. So I won't know which equation to use until I figure out what. Violet? Good. We don't know which formula or equation to use until we know if this is a horizontal hyperbola or a vertical hyperbola. Well, let's see. They're telling us the vertices are plus minus 1, 0. So right here. Right here. And they're telling us the foci are plus minus 2, 0. And doesn't the hyperbola always eat the foci? Oh, sorry, I did 0, 2, 0, 1. Sorry. Don't know why I did that. Is that what you were going to say, Leo? Sorry, let's try this again. Plus minus 1, 0. Here we go. Much better. And then plus minus 2, 0. This would have changed our whole problem and we would have done it wrong. Now, don't the hyperbolas, the curves in the hyperbolas, don't they always eat the foci? So if this is the vertex and it has to eat the foci, wouldn't it be going like something like that? So what is this, horizontal or vertical? Horizontal. So if it's a horizontal hyperbola, what is the equation of that in standard form? Perfect. Okay. So now that I know that it's a horizontal hyperbola, I need to find a couple of things, or a few things. I need to find HK, and I need to find A and B. So how are we going to do this? Well, the first thing is both the vertices and the foci are equal distance from the center. So right now, if the vertices are plus minus 1, 0 and the foci are plus minus 2, 0, what has to be the center? Lily? 0, 0 has to be our center. So we know center is 0, 0. And now, isn't the transversal axis length equal to 2a? And what does the transversal axis of length measure the length of? From what to what? Anybody remember? What does the transversal axis length measure the distance from what to what? Amanda? Good, from one vertex to the other vertex. So that means from -1 to +1. How many units is that? From -1 to 0 is 1 unit. From 0 to 1 is another unit. So do we all agree that's 2 units? So our transversal axis is 2a, which means 2a is equal to 2. So a is equal to 1. Okay, so let's see what we have so far. We have x minus 0 quantity squared over 1 squared minus the quantity of y minus 0 squared over b squared equals 1. I don't have b squared. Can I just leave it like this? No, I need to find b squared. The only other thing I have are the coordinates of the foci. Do we have any equation for anything to do with foci? We sure do. We have the focal length. So we know for the focal length, it's going to be c is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. Okay, well, let's talk about our focal length. What is the focal length from what to what? Anybody remember? What is the focal length from what to what? Ira? Good. Remember, the transversal axis length is vertex to vertex, but the focal length is from foci to center, not foci to foci, foci to center. So now the focus to the center is how many units? 2. So what does that mean? C is 2. So we're going to say 2 is equal to the square root of a squared, which is 1, plus b squared. Everybody okay with how I've plugged in? Now I'm going to solve for b squared. So in order to solve for b squared, I'm going to square both sides. So 4 is equal to 1 plus b squared. So what does b squared equal? 3. Am I square rooting both sides? No, because I need b squared. I don't need b. So now we have everything we need. Do I need to write the x minus 0 or the y minus 0? Do I need that minus 0? No. So it's just going to be x squared over 1 minus, since it's a hyperbola, y squared over 3 equals 1. Lily?
Do we have to write
You could just write x squared. Absolutely. You do not need that over 1. All right, ready for the next one? This is 2, 3. So I want us to find the equation of an ellipse with the center 0, 0, vertices plus minus 10, 0, and foci plus minus 6, 0. So again, before I know which equation to use, what do I have to figure out? Before I know which equation of an ellipse to use, what do I have to figure out? Amanda?
if it's horizontal?
You got it. If it's horizontal or vertical. So let's see. I always like doing sketches just because visually it makes things clearer for me. So my center is 0, 0. I have my vertices at negative 10, 0 and positive 10, 0. And now here's the thing, because how many vertices are there in an ellipse? 4 vertices. So just by the vertices, do I know what kind of ellipse this is? No, because that negative 10, 0 and that 10, 0 can be the minor axis vertices, right? Because there's 4 vertices. I'm only giving you 2. So I don't know which way it's long in because I don't know what the vertical vertices are going to be. But they did tell us the foci. They told us the foci are negative 6, 0 and positive 6, 0. And this clarifies for me that this is a horizontal ellipse. How do I know that this is a horizontal ellipse? Because the foci are always on the major axis. The foci are always on the major axis. So I could write that down for you guys. And now for an ellipse, it differs from a hyperbola. Does it matter in an ellipse which one is first, x or y? No. So how do I specify that it's a horizontal ellipse versus a vertical ellipse if it doesn't matter if x or y is first? Violet? Perfect. Wherever the a squared is, that means the a is the biggest. It's under whatever type of per ellipse we have. So here, because it's a horizontal ellipse, it's going to be x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. And now remember, in an ellipse, a squared is always bigger than b squared. Is a squared always bigger than b squared in a hyperbola? No. And when we make a circle look like an ellipse, what do we know about a squared and b squared? They are the same. Exactly. Let's keep going here. So now I know my center because I told you that the center is 0, 0. So we can say x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared is 1. Okay, so now I need to find a squared. Well, don't we know that the major axis equals 2a? Who remembers what is the major axis the distance from? What is the major axis the distance from? Anybody remember? It's going to be vertex to vertex. So from negative 10 to the center is 0. Negative 10 to 0, 0 is 10 units. And then from 0, 0 to 10, isn't that another 10 units for a total of 20 units? So we're going to say 2a is equal to 20. So a is equal to 10. So now we know it's x squared over, not 10, over what? Lily? 100 plus y squared over b squared equals 1. What should I do now? What do I have to do now? Violet? Find b squared. Ariana, what am I going to use to find b squared? Excellent. We're going to use the focal length. So now remember the focal length is c equals, does anybody remember what it is this time? It's different than the hyperbola. Do you remember the equation, Leah? Excellent. A squared minus b squared. Now, I didn't tell you the focal length, right? But we can figure out the focal length since I told you the foci are plus minus 6, 0. Now, that focal length is not from focus to focus. Remember, the focal length is from focus to what? Center. And so from negative 6 to 0 or from 6 to 0, how many units is that? 6. So that's going to be 6 is equal to the square root of a squared, which we said is 100, minus b squared. Now I'm going to solve for b squared. I'm going to square both sides. So I have 36 is equal to 100 minus b squared. Subtract that 100. So I have a negative 64 is equal to negative b squared. So b squared is equal to positive 64. Now we have everything we need to write the equation of this ellipse. So we have x squared over 100 plus y squared over 64 equals 1. Yeah. Okay, next one. Okay, so now I want us to find the equation of the parabola So we've done, let's see, we've done a circle, we've done a hyperbola, we did an ellipse, now we're doing a parabola. So the equation of a parabola with vertex -2, 4 and focus -2, comma 7/2. So we can't forget about the parabola. Okay, who remembers the equation of a parabola? What does it look like? Nobody? Oh no, guys. So quickly we forget. All right. Y equals, oh, sorry. We don't know. Is that why nobody's volunteering? Because we don't know which equation to use? So we have one of two equations. We could have y equals a times x minus h squared plus k, or x equals a times y minus k squared plus h. Yes? We could have a vertical parabola or a horizontal parabola. So now we need to figure out which parabola we have, a horizontal or vertical. So remember, the vertex of a parabola is the turning point. So I always love to do a sketch. So my vertex is -2, 4, which is right here. And my focus is -2, 7/2. Well, do we agree -2, 7/2 is -2, positive 3.5? Yes? Okay. So that's -2, positive 3.5. Now, if you remember, in a parabola, the curve of the parabola is always eating the focus. So if I'm eating the focus, doesn't that mean this has to be a vertical parabola? And not only do I realize this has to be a vertical parabola, what do I know? What else do I realize about A? Leo? Yeah, I know I have to have a negative value for A. So this is a vertical parabola with a negative value for A. So we're going to have this equation, y equals a times the quantity of x minus h squared plus k. So now I need values for h, for k, and for a. Luckily for me, I have my vertex, which is h comma k, so I can plug that in right away. So y is equal to a times the quantity of x minus, what was my h? -2. Quantity squared plus 4. So this is y equals a times the quantity of x plus 2 squared plus 4. Is this good enough? No. So this is where it's a little bit annoying that we have to remember this from a parabola. I told you the coordinates of the focus. We have the point -2, comma 7/2. So if you remember the formula for this, for a vertical parabola, it's going to be h comma k plus 1 over 4a. So what does this tell me? K plus 1 over 4a has to equal 7 over 2. And I already know k. What's my k? 4. So I could plug that in. 4 equals k equals 4. So we're going to have 4 plus 1 over 4a equals 7/2. So now I'm going to solve for a. Well, in order to solve for a, I'm first going to subtract 4 on both sides. So I have 1 over 4a. I'm going to make a common denominator here to subtract. So I'm going to have 7 halves minus 8 halves. Oh, sorry, not 8a, 8 halves. So I'm going to have 1 over 4a equals negative a half. Do we agree? Now, I can solve for a when it's in the denominator, but because this is two ratios equal to each other, I can cross multiply. So I'm going to have negative 4a equals 2. So a will equal negative 2/4, which simplifies down to negative a half. And my a ended up being negative. When we had started this problem, did we anticipate a to be negative? Yeah, so we're on a good track. So now we're going to have y is equal to negative a half times the quantity of x plus 2 squared plus 4. Okay, last problem. So for me, I would definitely sketch this. So the center is 5, 3. And then we have all 4 vertices. So the first vertex I told you was the point 1, 3. The other vertex I gave you was 5, 6. The next vertex I gave you was 9, 3. And the final vertex I gave you was 5, 0. Okay, so let's see. From the black points to the center, we are 1, 2, 3, 4 units from the center. From the purple point to the center, we are 1, 2, 3 units from the center. Because we're longer in the horizontal direction, doesn't this make it a horizontal ellipse? So what does that mean? It's going to be x minus h quantity squared over a squared plus y minus k quantity squared over b squared equals 1. And there's really not much algebra I need to do here because just from using the coordinates given to us, can I find a and b? Yeah, and I've already counted. My a is 4 and my b is what? 3. My a is 4, my b is 3. So we're going to have, and my center was already given as 5, 3. So this is going to be x minus 5 quantity squared over 16 plus y minus 3, plus y minus 3 quantity squared over 9 equals 1. Not so bad, right? Okay, we are done for today. Your homework is going to be a worksheet. I'm going to have you do the even numbers. I'm going to have you do, oh, there's a lot. There's 17 questions. I'll have you do the odd problems. No, Odd or even? Even, sorry. I'm gonna stick with even. We're gonna do the evens, okay? So we're gonna do the worksheet